Good day. I'm here to present about electronic communication. My name is Hazel Ann Solomon, and here it is. Our agenda is the introduction of electronic communication, its characteristics, misuses, and its effects, and applying TWRRP effectively in a summary after the presentation. What is electronic communication? It is the use of technology to exchange messages and thoughts in both personal and a professional setting. We usually use it to send and receive messages with family and friends, either near or far. Sometimes in the workplace, we use it to communicate to our customers and simply have a meeting discussion that's company related towards issues that needed to be resolved. As the pandemic happened, it was used as the next best way to communicate with others because of social distancing. It was the quick and easy way just to send the message. Examples of electronic communications are email, instant messaging, text messaging, video conference, Zoom or FaceTime. There's a lot of other ones, and then electronic platforms such as social media and gaming. Characteristics of electronic communication is it provides frequent communication, which we constantly do. Use our phones to text messaging or send emails. Provides access to instant news. Before we had to wait for it a couple hours before it hits the radio or it hits the television. Nowadays, it's happening instantly, and there's a lot of sources to it. The third characteristic is to provide opportunity for increased social interaction. We have changed that. Before it's basically increased now more than before. And then it provides access to information 24/7. Actually, it does, because in research, we used to go to the library and just search for something. Nowadays, you could just look it up and check the internet, and it's boom right there. The fifth one, it provides a global cultural connection, and a good example of that one is like before you had to fly internationally to provide a presentation or make a transaction with the business. So it takes some time to get to somewhere like for Japan or Europe and stuff like that. Nowadays, at an instant with video conference or video calls, you can talk to your customers, you can talk to anybody across the globe. The last one, but not the least, it provides a written correspondence record. Yes, you always have a specific storage for all those transactions that we're doing. Here's a quote that I read about electronic communication. Electronic communication will never be a substitute for the face of someone who, with their soul, encourages another person to be brave and true. I want you to rethink about that one. This was a quote by Charles Dickens. Here are some examples of misuses of electronic communication. Because we don't see nonverbal cues, like when we're making phone calls, we don't see that. We can only hear like the tones of the voices do change if we're like a little upset or something like that. It can be misinterpreted, and then it could misunderstood something. But when you're video calling, you can see those a little bit of the facial expression and some body language. Another example is physically present but not there. Sometimes we're so caught up with our phones that we forget to talk to the people that's there physically. It gives us a disconnection with the people around us. And another example of misuse is addiction. Sometimes children in this generation are so addicted to doing video games to be on top of their level, and then sometimes it's not good for their health or bad for their eyesight, and then it's going to lead to something else. Another example is privacy. Anybody can steal your identity and use it to harm others, and use your identity. Um, it's scary out there. Last but not the least is stalking or harassment. Um, in this day and age, there's so many emotional distress and offensive nature out there that it creates discrimination, cyberbullying. There's a lot of that happening around us. Um, this is another thing that you could use to use effectively when you're online. It's called TWRRP. T stands for think. Think about what is being asked of you, or what is the instructions. And then secondly, write down what needs to be in there, like the standard or the appropriate language to be written in there. And then after writing, you have to read it and make changes if it's not right. And then the third one is reread it and make profound or make necessary adjustments to make sure it's appropriate for your audience. Last but not the least is to pose. When you have finished all the steps, you have to make sure your intent is clear and, of course, understandable. The summary: the advancement of electronic communication has changed the way the world communicates. Our society is now dependent and attached to it. Further, its advancement came with risk because we needed to protect ourselves and safeguard our private information from being released to the public. Yes, it is a vital tool in today's world, but we also have to think about the risk prior to using, public information and not be caught up in high risk stuff and, later on regret it. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you have a nice day and you got something out of it. Bye for now.